One of the most hotly debated scenes is the dragon pit scene when Rhaenys makes her escape. From those that worked on the show, this was actually supposed to be a triumphant moment where we go, yes girl, or slay, or whatever we say now. But a lot of show watchers were not happy with this scene. So who's right? Did Rhaenys bursting through the floor make sense, or was it just really, really stupid? Following the treachery of the Greens, Rhaenys is imprisoned when she refuses to join Team Snake. This leads to her escaping and sneaking into the dragon pit to retrieve her dragon melees and escaping through the flooring during Aegon II's coronation. When she does so, she kills a lot of small folk. Besides the immediate ones she sends flying into the air by coming up underneath them, I'm assuming coming crashing down to the floor and being super dead, there is also a ton of stones being thrown that hit and kill the coronation gatherers. Then there's Melee's tail, which, come on, I get Rhaenys was turning melees to observe threat, but that tail was going a bit crazy and having fun causing extra casualties. And I get dragons can feel the emotions of their riders, so maybe Melees was just playing off the anger from Rhaenys herself. Now, if this moment does make you mad, it might make you even madder if you knew originally we were told by the VFX supervisor Mike Bell the scene was going to be much, much, much bloodier. This is what he shared before on that scene. The coronation in episode 9 was changed a little bit, especially when Rhaenys exits, because we initially had shots where she exits and plows through thousands of people. And it was just like, well, that's not really into the feeling of the character. There's definitely a feeling like, is it okay that she's going through all this crowd? We went high and then reduced it down. But in all that dust, there's also people flying and somersaulting. I think if you pause it, you might be able to count them. It's hundreds, maybe thousands. So yeah, if you're one of those people that were enraged by what Rhaenys did, it could have been so much worse. Now, I think this scene could have been made better by explaining why Rhaenys did what she did, you know, besides, again, Team Snake treachery. So the Dragon Pit was constructed as a huge dome castle on Rhaenys Hill. Rhaenys Hill sits right up against Flea Bottom, the poorest slum in the city. The main entrance to the Dragon Pit was a wide bronze and iron door, though there were smaller, weaker doors to exit as well. Within the pit, there were benches that could sit about 80,000 people. The Dragon Pit was dug into the hillside with long brick tunnels that had 40 huge undervaults to house the dragons. These undervaults not only opened into outer doors of the hillside, but also had inner doors that opened directly into the sands of the pit. While House of the Dragon has altered the layout of the Dragon Pit just a tiny bit, and so did the main series Game of Thrones, they did make it obvious episodes before that the door the young princes come out of when they're dragon training in the Dragon Pit is located on the floor of the sand pit, and that door opens to let the dragons out from down below. So at the time of the coronation, this was the general layout of the Dragon Pit. The small folk attending the crowning were on the sand, and below that sand were the caves where the dragons were kept. Also below them was the door that comes up out of the sand to allow the dragons to come up. So when Rhaenys was escaping, she went the only way that would fit her dragon melees, through that door that opens into the main area of the pit. But what was on top of that area that usually wasn't occupied? The small folk. This wasn't Rhaenys being dramatic or trying to kill, but her using the normal weaker door that allowed her to escape. All the other doors would have either been too small or too guarded. This was the only way Rhaenys could get out, and unfortunately the small folk paid the price, which is a major theme in A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones. The peasants pay the price for the games that the nobles play. Now, did the tail going around adding to the kill count make it a bit much? Yeah, of course. I'm not sure if Melees was being extra vengeful given he was the dragon of Viserys and Daemon's mother, and with that bond between riders definitely knew Rhaenys was PO'd that her previous owner's son was being disrespected, or if it was just Rhaenys herself adding to the extra killing. It could have also just been an unintentional consequence of Melees maneuvering and trying to escape. So I don't think Rhaenys killing all those small folk was stupid or out of character. It was her only escape route. Now, you could say that adding Rhaenys' capture was stupid and an unnecessary action moment added to further satisfy the crowd of watchers that, you know, sometimes have a stroke when they go more than 10 minutes without boobs or death. I do understand that point of view if you're irritated about the unnecessary unnecessary addition of Rhaenys' capture. Hell, even the direct quote from the writer on the episode, Sarah Hess, was this: "I just remember we were in the writer's room one day and I was like, it would be awesome if Rhaenys just came through the floor on a dragon." For me, when you're reasoning to add something that isn't in canon is, wouldn't it be awesome? Usually is a big indicator that maybe you just shouldn't have it in there. However, maybe you're not upset about Rhaenys plowing through the small folk. Maybe you're a bit upset that Rhaenys didn't toast the traitors when she was there. I mean, she had a clear shot to kill the usurper. But on that, we're given the explanation that it wasn't her war to start, which is true, but kind of a cop-out. I would imagine a bigger issue would be leaving the city rulerless. Now, her inaction of not toasting them was explained by the once and now fired showrunner Miguel Sapochnik that they wanted to give Rhaenys a triumphant moment at the end of the season and make her more than a passive character. They wanted to add more meat to her character. He further explained the reason Rhaenys doesn't kill Aegon is her moral standpoint. Now, the other showrunner, the one that's remaining, Ryan Condal, added that Rhaenys not killing Aegon was her not wanting to be responsible for doing that to another mother. He said that this was a complex choice, and not choosing the peace of the realm right there and then by taking out the usurper was one she weighed and made. Not only did Alicent probably help save Aegon by stepping in front of him, but her talk with Rhaenys beforehand about the women leading the men to a gentler, less bloody path stayed in her mind. Rhaenys was even impressed who Alicent was willing to kill or spare to ensure the least amount of bloodshed. That may have been playing in Rhaenys' mind when she chose to spare Aegon and Alicent, or her at least sparing Alicent in return of the favor of Alicent having the men spare her and give her a chance to join or not. Then of course there's the factor of kinslaying. As we heard in the House of the Dragon Season 2 trailer, Rhaenys is very against kinslaying and understands the seriousness of it.
There is no war so hateful to the gods. There's a war between kin.
Not killing a bunch of her kin without a proper declaration of war probably stayed her from killing them as well. If you add on top of that, she would have been a kingslayer. Without a war being declared, that would have damned her even more. Given Rhaenys wasn't even sure she was going to help Rhaenyra, and that she still believed Daemon and Rhaenyra killed her 2 children, and Rhaenyra cuckolded her son, that would have been a big step for Rhaenys to take. So in the end, I would say Rhaenys bursting through the floor and her not killing Aegon, it does make sense, but having the scene necessary in the first place, no, not so much. But like, subscribe, let me know how you felt not only about her bursting through the floor and taking out a bunch of small folk, but her not burning Aegon and the crew.